You send us an article about Mount Everest. I'm immediately thinking, climbers, epic views, oxygen tanks, the whole 9 yards.
Right.
But this research from University College London, this is different. This throws a whole new spin on things. Get this, Everest is still growing.
Yeah, it's true. And it's fascinating how this research shows that even these, subtle slow-motion forces are always, reshaping the planet. Even if we don't really see them,
Right. So the article mentions this crazy detail. Everest is actually taller than it should be, somewhere between 15 to 50 meters taller.
Wow.
That's what? Adding a whole apartment building on top? What's the deal there?
Okay, so imagine, you've been lounging on your couch,
Yeah.
right? And you leave this nice person-shaped dent.
Okay, I'm with you.
And when you get up, the cushion slowly bounces back. That's kind of what's happening with Everest, just in a very, very simplified way, of course. It's called isostatic rebound. Basically, the Earth rebalancing itself over a really long time.
Isostatic rebound. So the Earth is like one giant, super slow memory foam mattress.
Exactly. And a key factor in all of this is erosion. See, the weight of mountains like Everest, it's immense, right? Pressing down on the Earth's crust. But as erosion carries away rock, sediment, all that stuff, it actually lightens the load,
Hold on, so less weight means?
Less weight means less pressure pushing down. And what's underneath all that? The mantle. It's this thick, hot layer of, well, you can picture it as molten rock, I guess.
Molten rock, okay.
Now, the mantle, it's always under pressure from the Earth's weight. So when you remove weight from the crust above, it's like taking your hand off a balloon. That mantle is going to push upward.
And in Everest's case, that push is what's making it grow taller, even now.
You got it. Now, don't expect to see it happening right in front of you. We're talking extremely slow processes here. The article mentioned GPS measurements show Everest growing at about 2 millimeters per year.
2 millimeters. So like the width of a nickel every year. That doesn't seem like much.
It's not much in a human time frame, no. But over millennia, that adds up. The really wild part is what's causing this erosion in the first place. And this is where things get really interesting.
So we've got Everest, this massive mountain, slowly being pushed up from below because the Earth is rebalancing itself. But what's eating away at the crust, causing this whole chain reaction? The article mentioned a river.
Yeah, it does. And this is where the story gets really interesting. See, about 75 kilometers away from Everest, you've got the Arun River.
Okay.
Now, this isn't just some gentle stream. We're talking a serious force of nature carving this deep gorge through the Himalayan foothills.
Okay, so we've got a river doing some serious landscaping, but how does that tie back to a mountain miles away?
It all comes back to that weight distribution we were talking about.
Right.
Every little bit of rock the Arun River erodes away from its gorge, lightens the load on the Earth's crust in that area. It's like, imagine you're removing a pebble from one side as a balance scale. That side is going to rise up, even if it's just a tiny, tiny bit.
Wait, so you're telling me that a river carving a path miles away is literally pushing Everest higher?
That's the incredible part, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's not even just Everest that's being affected. This uplift, that's what we call it, it's impacting other peaks in the Himalayas too, like Haksay.
Haksay, Everest's neighbor.
Exactly. And then there's Makalu.
Makalu, that's another one the article mentioned. The fifth highest mountain in the world, if I remember correctly. It even said that Makalu might be growing faster than Everest.
Exactly. And honestly, that makes sense if you think about where it is. Makalu's even closer to the Arun River than Everest is. So it's like it's really feeling the effects of that isostatic rebound, that bounce back, even more strongly.
So it's like a ripple effect with the Arun River at the center.
Yeah, in a way. Yeah. It really highlights how dynamic the Himalayas actually are.
Yeah.
We tend to think of mountains as these permanent things, like they're just frozen in time.
Right.
But the reality is they're constantly evolving just on a time scale that we don't always see.
Yeah.
A geological time scale,
Right. It's mind-boggling to think about, honestly. These massive forces shaping the landscape over thousands, millions of years. And to think this whole story started with a river changing its course. Speaking of which, the article also mentioned how the Arun River captured the flow of another river, the Kosi River, thousands of years ago. Did that event have anything to do with all of this?
Yeah, it definitely adds another layer to the story. This, what we call drainage piracy, it happened about 89,000 years ago. Long before, humans were even thinking about summiting Everest. Back then, the Kosi River actually flowed a totally different way.
So how did it end up merging with the Arun?
Okay, so picture this. You got two rivers, right? Flowing relatively close to each other. Over a long, long time, one river, the Arun in this case, erodes its path faster,
Hmm.
and eventually intersects with that other river's path, capturing its flow,
Wow, so it just like cuts it off.
basically. And that had a huge impact on the Arun River.
It must have become way more powerful, right, with all that extra water flowing through it.
You got it. And that means it could carve into the rock even faster, accelerating that whole erosion process, which ultimately contributes to the uplift of Everest and its neighboring peaks.
Okay, my head's spinning. We've got this river, the Arun, just carving its way through the Himalayas for like thousands of years. And then it captures another river, gets supercharged, just starts carving even faster. And this whole time, it's like, I don't know, it's like a giant lever, right?
Yeah.
Slowly being pulled, pushing Everest and neighboring mountains higher and higher. It's crazy.
It really is incredible. This, what seems like a small change, a river changing its course.
Hmm.
And it ends up having this massive impact on the landscape, an impact that's still going on even today. It makes you really think about how everything's connected, you know? Like how one little change over here can lead to something huge way over there.
Yeah, it's like that butterfly effect, but on a geological scale. It makes me wonder, like, what if we could fast forward 1,000 years, a million years? What would the Himalayas look like then? Would Everest still be the tallest?
That's the million-dollar question.
Uh-huh.
We can try to guess, you know, based on what we see happening now. But Earth systems, they're complicated.
Oh, yeah.
Other geological forces, they could come into play, even reverse this whole uplift thing we're seeing right now.
Mhm.
Like you've got plate tectonics, they're always reshaping the planet.
So even the tallest mountains, which seem so permanent, are constantly changing. It's almost like they're breathing, expanding and contracting over like millions of years.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
It reminds us that our planet is dynamic, alive, and we're just along for the ride.
I definitely feel a lot smaller after learning all of this. In a good way, of course. Just puts things in perspective.
As it should. It's humbling to realize the scale of these forces and how vast geological time really is.
Totally. Well, to everyone listening, next time you see a picture of Mount Everest, remember it's not just a static peak. It's constantly evolving, a real testament to the power of our planet. Who knows, maybe someday, way in the future, Everest will be even taller, all thanks to that river carving its path miles away.
Something to think about.